Well, hello, everyone. It is such a delight to have you here today because we're going to be talking about financial planning for graduate students, and in particular, those students that we hope will come here to the University of Texas at Dallas Jindal School of Management. Let me introduce myself and my colleague. I'm Dr. Monica Powell. I'm the Senior Associate Dean and Graduate Dean here at the Jindal School, and I have with me one of our program leaders who leads our MS and Business Analytics Flex and Online program, but he is also one of the deans that supports the graduate programs. So we are delighted today to really talk about what is a topic that is absolutely essential for you when you're thinking about making the investment to come. And I will tell you, after years and years and years in graduate management education, this is an important topic, and we have a lot of information that will help resolve the risks that you feel like you're taking, the doubts that you have. Is it really financially possible? Because we have lots and lots of examples of how it really truly is possible, and how if a variety of things happen, not all of the things happen, you can make your journey to participate in our program financially possible. So I want to talk about the very first, right out of the gate, funding opportunity that students ask about all the time. And that is about scholarship opportunities, because it's the thing you know that you can get a scholarship, and that helps underwrite the cost. So yes, we do have scholarship programs for incoming graduate students here at the Jindal School. And those scholarship opportunities for incoming students are offered each fall and offered each spring. They are not offered in the summer, so only in the fall and the spring. And the other thing that you want to keep in mind is that when you get a scholarship, so say you get awarded a fall scholarship as an incoming fall student, that would give you a reduction in your tuition, which is about 50% for your fall and spring semester. If you were awarded a scholarship coming in the spring, that would give you a reduction of your tuition to half the cost, which is half of the out-of-state rate, for just the spring semester. So there is a little bit bigger advantage to coming in the fall than coming in the spring. The scholarship application is open. It is an additional application that you fill out. It doesn't take you any more than 5 minutes. It's not a long, drawn-out process. And you can apply at any time. But I will also tell you the scholarship committee does not consider any applicant who applies for scholarship until after they have been admitted. So you can apply, but you won't get considered until after you've been admitted. So students ask the standard 3 questions that you see at the bottom of your screen. Can I apply if I was given a GMAT or GRE waiver for the admissions process? Well, unfortunately, in order to be considered for scholarship, you must submit an official GMAT or GRE score. We'll certainly consider you for admission if you've been given, a waiver, one of our automatic waivers, or gone through the process waivers. But if you want to be considered for scholarship, you need to submit an official GMAT or GRE score. And of course, that second question, what is that committee looking at when they make these awards? Well, we're looking at everything that you submitted for the application. We're looking at your original application, your resume, your work experience. We're looking at your undergraduate performance. We're looking at recommendations. We look at the whole package in terms of making those decisions. And the other thing that you want to keep in mind is that we start making decisions for fall awards generally in late January, and we make them periodically, every week or every 10 days. And we're going to be looking for the most competitive candidates that are in that pool. So, if you've applied and you've not gotten any contact, that means that there's probably other candidates that are more competitive than you are at that moment. So I would encourage all of you to apply, to consider it. It's a huge impact on the financial bottom line if you are awarded a scholarship. And if you are chosen, you will be notified almost immediately after the committee makes those decisions. And we will be making decisions right up until the official deadline which is May the 1st. Now, scholarships, it's just one piece of a potential revenue stream. There are tons of other revenue streams that my colleague is going to talk about in this webinar this morning. And of course, you need to be completely knowledgeable about what are all the expenses? What is it going to cost me to do this? And then where can I find those funds that are going to support in paying those expenses? So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Gaurav Shekhar. He's going to take it away, and I'll come back in the end of this presentation. But I think that you're going to look at this and really kind of take a sigh of relief in saying, wow, never thought about looking at it this way. And it is possible. It is very possible for me to come and go through the graduate programs here at the Jindal School of Management. So Gaurav, you want to take it away?
Absolutely, Dr. Powell. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Whether you are watching this live or you're watching a recording of this, let me tell you, as a student, there are so many questions as a prospective student that are right now going in your mind. Securing the admission is one thing. If you're an international student, moving to another country is another thing. Starting business school education is not one of the easier things, but then if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So just because you have taken that decision that you want to make yourselves better in terms of your skills, and graduate education is one of the best routes that somebody can take, I congratulate you for that decision, because that is a big decision. And let me tell you that this is going to be one of the best things that you would have done yourself. I came to the Jindal School myself as a student almost 9 years ago, and I still feel that it was one of the best decisions I made. And like myself, there are thousands and thousands of students who every year cross the stage during commencement when they shake hands with their dean, and that's that sigh of relief that they have finally accomplished it. I am sure that they think about this thing only, that this was the best decision. When we see our alums out in the industry, working in different places, occupying these very senior high positions, changing the trajectory of the organizations that they're working with, that all started somewhere with this admission that they got at UT Dallas in the Jindal School, that somewhere started with this decision that they want to make their lives better. And for that decision, definitely there's an investment. And through this webinar, we want to really help you understand those different granular details of what it entails. And this is not something that myself, Dr. Powell, Norma here have put together. This is something that has come through experience of talking to thousands of students as to what it takes for them to successfully pursue their degree at UT Dallas. We'll move on to the next slide here, and we look at what are some of the types of expenses that you will encounter. Now, remember, these are some of the major categories, and they're not exhaustive of every possible type of expense that you may incur. Depending on your lifestyle, depending on your needs, there might be some other ancillary expenses, but these, if you look at what is listed on the slide right now, these are some of the major expenses. So of course, your tuition is the largest chunk that you'll be paying for, definitely. And then any supplementary materials like books, clickers, devices that you need for your coursework is another big expense. That's for the school. From a living perspective, your rent, your utilities, you have a cell phone, so you're paying a monthly bill for that, your internet, your electricity, water utility bills, and your groceries. Of course, we can't go without food, right? We need food, so groceries are there. But these are some of the categories. Now, there are, as I said, there are miscellaneous expenses that you may have. So for example, every student gets to access our very amazing gym that we have here. There's an activity center that has a gymnasium, a natatorium, swimming pool, squash courts, basketball courts, all of those things. But then if you decide that there is a different type of activity that you want to pursue, and that of course is some kind of an expense, that's an additional thing. But that all depends on what your lifestyle is. So just remember that what we are covering in this presentation today are some of the common things that our students experience. Moving on to the next slide, let's look at some of the other expenses and let's break down what the tuition really entails. So number one, what does tuition depend on? That's a question that you should ask. It's not a fixed number out there. It really depends on the credits you take. Your residency. Now, in the US, one of the things that is important for you to know is that your college tuition depends on your state residency. Are you a resident of the state in which you're going to pursue your college education? So in this case, this is Texas. We are in the state of Texas. Are you a Texas resident or not? And residency can be through a lot of ways. Number one is you're born here, you live here. That's how you're a resident. Another thing is you went to high school here in Texas, or you moved from another state and have stayed here for at least a year and you become a Texas resident. If you are an international student, of course, on your student visa, you will always be considered out of state. However, there are some scenarios in which your tuition can become in-state. You can be considered in-state Texas resident for tuition purposes. So for example, Dr. Powell talked about the Dean's Excellence Scholarship. Now, if the Dean's Excellence Scholarship, and it does come with tuition waivers, which means that your residency changes from out of state to in-state, if that's the case. There are some other scholarships for continuing students where the same applies. If you become a teaching assistant, for example, that's another way to get Texas residency for that semester in which you have these scholarships or these TA-ships or RA-ships, you do get in-state Texas residence. So that's another great advantage to getting some of these things added to you. Now, the courses that you're taking also can have some additional cost depending on their modality. So if it's a face-to-face class, of course, there is no extra charge other than the school fee there. But if it's an online course, there is, an $80 per credit hour additional fee that is added. So again, these are some small numbers that change how the tuition looks like. But again, you need to be aware of how your tuition gets impacted and what really are the factors that go into calculating your tuition. The rule of thumb here is that if you're in the flex program or any of the state funded programs. So in simple terms, in the Jindal School of Management, all our non-state funded programs mostly end up having the word cohort in it. Okay, if you are in a state funded program, your tuition is not a linear calculation. As you take more credits every semester, your per credit hour rate goes down. And for any of our self-funded programs which have the word cohort in it, mostly that's the way to identify them. There is a flat tuition, irrespective of how many credits you take in a semester. It's a direct multiple. The other good thing to know is that there is a cap on the number of credits you can take in a semester, so that the max of 18. For any funded program, state funded program, there is a tuition cap at 12 credits, which means credit number 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 in one semester, in that one semester is free. We will see some of these other scenarios as we move into the different illustrations that we have. So moving on, some other expenses that you may incur. Of course, tuition is not the only thing. Health insurance, again, is important. Especially if you are an international student, you are required to take health insurance. One of the things that can become extremely expensive is an unfortunate incident in which you have to avail medical services. Now, we hope that doesn't happen to you, but of course, we always want to be covered. And this health insurance helps you with that. It costs you a little less than about $1,500 for the long semesters. Now, the good thing is UT Dallas doesn't say that you must take the health insurance from us only. You can avail this health insurance from another place. All you have to do is make sure that the coverage UT Dallas is offering you, wherever you're taking your health insurance from, you are able to get the same coverage. We want our students to have the same coverage. And if you can show that proof that it's the same coverage, we will waive off the health insurance fee. You can purchase that insurance, shows the proof of purchase, and you're good to go. Another thing to know is for every credit that you take, there is a supplemental fee of $100 per credit. So let's say you're enrolled in 12 credits and whatever your tuition is on top of it, 12 times 100, $1,200 will be paid as well. That's a school fee that goes for every student that is enrolled in a program in the Jindal School of Management. Moving on. I do want to note here that these slides are not magically moving, and our expert producer, Norma, is behind the scenes who's making this work. So thank you, Norma. Some other kind of expenses here: books, calculators, clickers, any kind of online subscription. I would say estimate about $1,000 to $1,500 throughout the program that you might be spending on this. The good thing is our instructors, they tend to use resources that our students can either get access through the library, or the instructors will provide their own slides or notes, or they have some very subsidized subscriptions that you can avail. So for example, if there's a book or there's a case study or there's a collection of case studies that are required for a class, and if it's worth $100, maybe through a subsidized subscription, it might be available at a fraction of the cost. Now, again, this might differ from course to course. There might be some devices that you would need. I would say as a student, one of the biggest portions in terms of your supplies is actually your device cost. So if you have a laptop, that's going to be the most expensive thing that you buy. But on top of it, books and the rest of the things are generally available at a much, much lower cost. The good thing is if you don't have, let's say, the book available in the library, there are so many ways through which you can rent a book. In fact, students do a lot of book exchanges, so they're able to get the books from other students who might have done it. All you have to make sure is that it's the right edition that you're going for and you're good. But what I'm coming to is that through UT Dallas, there are so many things that you can get at a very subsidized to sometimes no cost at all. For example, some of the top tools that our students use in their classes, if you were just buying it as a non-student, you might end up spending anywhere between $100 to $200 a month for that. But our students get to access all these softwares, all these subscriptions, a lot of times for free. And that's a big advantage of being a student at UT Dallas because of all these different partnerships, strategic partnerships that we have with some of the top vendors in the industry. We want to make sure that you get that experience of what you would get in an organization that you would work with right here when you are a student. And also, of course, the benefit there is that the costs are significantly reduced. But again, when we are planning, we have to always make sure that we know where our money can go and always try to pick up the worst case scenario possible. Never plan with the best case in mind that, what, when I go to UTD, all the good things will happen. Scholarships will happen immediately. I'll get my TA-ship. I'll get my on-campus job. When I apply for an internship, I'll immediately get it. These are good things to happen, and a lot of students do see that. But you'd never plan with the best case scenario in mind. You always plan for the worst, but hope for the best. And guess what? A lot of our students do see the best case scenarios happening to them. Moving on to the next slide. If you need an estimate for your tuition, and sometimes you need this for the purposes of, let's say you're taking a loan and your bank wants a letter which says, what is the estimate of tuition? The good thing is you don't have to really ask a person. This is a self-service tool. If you even just Google tuition estimate UT Dallas, this link would come up. But what you're seeing on the screen right now is the link that you need to go to. Just enter the number of credits, your residency, what level of education you're at, graduate or undergraduate, Texas resident or non-Texas resident, put the number of credits, which school you're going to, and boom, you will see something of this sort. I have put a very small snip here. It is a partial snip of the document that you will see, but this will have the number of credits, what's the tuition, and a letter that you can use for the purposes of seeking a loan. This is a request that we get a lot of times, so we wanted to make sure that our students are not dependent on a human, a person, an employee here to give you this letter, and you can just get it for yourself whenever you want. It's a very good tool because not only this page has the tool, but it also has all the other fees and the stuff that we're going to talk about listed there as well, just in case you want to see where we are getting our numbers from. Moving on to the next slide. So all the different numbers that we talked about, the scenarios we talked about, your tuition, your supplies, your groceries, your living expenses and all. Now let's put some numbers to it. So the tuition per credit, and what I've done is for this particular slide and the next few illustrations that we'll be going through, we are estimating it on the basis of 9 credits an hour, a semester. Now students can take up to 18. That's a very different thing, but on an average, let's say that if you have to take 9 credits, that means that you're going to spend about 4 long semesters at the university. These numbers are based on that 4 semester stay. A lot of our students finish their degree in 1.5 years. There is a significant number that even finishes it in 1 year. That can change, but this is, I would say, it gives you a good solid idea about what your max number would be in terms of your expenses here at UTD. So if you can see, the first quadrant on top left is the tuition. An in-state tuition, a student would be paying about 8,500 for 9 credits, which is about 15,500, 600 for a student who's out of state. Out of state means you're a resident of California and resident of Malaysia are both out of state for us. The health insurance is mandatory for international students. Domestic students can also take it, but international students would be paying about 1,437. That's the exact number. And then let's say there is some miscellaneous fee of $300 that you might have to pay. Living expenses, again, we are calculating on the basis of $1,200 a month. Now, please note, this is not everybody's expense. There are students who end up spending more than $1,200 a month. There are students who end up spending lesser than that. In fact, if you're able to save, let's say $100 a month, based on what I have illustrated here, you're saving $2,200 over the course of your program. So you can do the math there. But again, as I said, we want to always go and plan with the higher number and not a lower number, because we need our financial strength and we need to be in a position that if the worst happens, we have the financial coverage. Over the 4 long semesters, just the tuition piece would be about $61,000 for in-state and $96,000 for the out-of-state students. And this does include your living expenses. So if you're going at $1,200 a month, and for 22 months, that's the time that you're spending, your living expenses are about $26,000 in total. So this number that you're seeing is not just tuition, it's everything that you need to know. Let's look at some of the illustrations here. And before we do, of course, definitely there's an important piece here. What the slide before was our expenses, but I want to also talk about what are some of the ways through which we can earn income. The number one thing that all of you can avail from day one of the semester, and of course you'll have to apply. It's not that everybody who applies ends up getting it. It's just like getting a job, that there are more applicants versus the number of positions, but you do have the on-campus jobs that pay on an average $10 to $12 an hour. Let's say that you will end up, after taxes, you'll end up getting about $450, $500 a month. If you become a TA or an RA, and you cannot become a TA in the very first semester, we want you to complete 1 semester at UT Dallas. So it's something that you can do from the second semester. That pays you about $1,000 after taxes. And of course, it comes with in-state tuition as well if you're an out-of-state student. Internships, I would say, we are seeing that the average is about $25 an hour across our different programs. And that's about $4,000 a month. Your scholarship, if you get one of those, you get $1,000 plus your in-state tuition for most of those scholarships. And when I say in-state tuition, the difference that it makes to your tuition is that if you were an out-of-state student and got a scholarship that has a tuition waiver and changes it to in-state, you're saving about $18,000 to $19,000 over the course of 2 semesters. And that is big in terms of savings. Now, remember, Dean's Excellence, for example, does come with a waiver, but when you get in your second year and you're applying as a continuing student, a lot of donor scholarships. Not every scholarship comes with a waiver. Most of them do, but you might even get a scholarship that is just a few $1,000 upfront, and that's it. But again, at the end of the day, every penny counts. Whatever support you're getting counts towards lessening your burden. Education loans are one of the most, I would say, used instrument that our students avail, because and it gives them so much of strength in terms of their financial situations. It eases a lot of things for them. The good thing is, over the years, we are seeing that the amount that is sanctioned for UT Dallas students, especially the Jindal School of Management students, is increasing just because of the different type of courses, the different type of outcomes. If our program wasn't producing, our programs were not producing students that were making big money in the industry upon graduation, or the kind of skills that they have, if they were not cutting edge, high end skills, these companies would not be giving this kind of loans. And because of these high end skills and education, the quality of education, our students are able to get jobs that really pay the top end of the salaries. And because of that, any financial institution who's giving out a loan to our students has that comfort that if a student from UT Dallas avails a loan, there is a very high chance that they will not default. In fact, I was speaking to a few lenders who regularly give money to our students through loans, and I was told that the default rate is almost negligible. They've hardly seen any student from UT Dallas default on a loan, which is a great testament to the fact that our students are not only able to avail it in time, but they're able to pay back in time as well. And that is great to know. Uh, Moving on. So talking about some of the numbers in terms of once you graduate, what's the liability like? And what we are seeing is that this liability is around $40,000, because through your, and this is an average number, so through your internships, through your on-campus jobs, all the sources of income that we talked about, and these are all legal sources of income. Of course, you are required to make sure that whatever work you're pursuing here in the United States is legal, is approved by the university. All our on-campus jobs are, all our internships are, once we approve them. So we're seeing that the average liability that a student graduates with is about $40,000, $40,000 unpaid loans, or, howsoever you want to put it. Now, again, when we look at our salaries, and again, I'm trying to pick a lower number. $80,000 is a low number, because what we know is our students very easily are getting upwards of 90, 95, 100K. Six figures are easy. But what is the rule of thumb? When you want to plan, you plan with a number that is not the most favorable number. So we are going with the lower end of the tail here at $80,000 per annum. That's about $6,700 per month. Let's say you get after taxes about $5,000 and you're paying back 20% of your salary. The average payoff time is about 3.5 years. That's the calculation. What's the reality? It's 2 to 3 years for our students. Any student that we talk to about, how much time it took them to pay off the loans was 2 to 3 years. We have so many of them who come to us and tell us how they have paid it back $50,000, $60,000 in less than a year, which tells us that they are making that kind of money, which affords them the ability to pay back their loans, the big loans that they might have graduated with, in absolutely no time. And please remember, these students are not living hand to mouth. They're living comfortable lives. They are making sure that, they're able to support their families. They have a comfortable life, nice apartments, nice homes. They have a nice car to drive, comfortable life. They have enough money to spend over the weekends, go out on trips, do everything, but at the same time, take care of their financial liability as well and pay this off. UT Dallas is a top institution in the state of Texas when it comes to return on investment. And this number that I'm sharing with you, again, just confirms the fact that our students upon graduation are making the kind of numbers that is helping them pay off their loans very quickly. Moving on to the next slide here. All right, our first illustration here. And this, again, is somebody who's an out-of-state student so definitely are paying the higher tuition. And this is possibly the worst case scenario. No scholarships, no internships, no on-campus jobs. Well, that doesn't mean that this was a bad student. They may have done amazingly well, but for whatever reason, they could not avail any of these things. That's not a problem. They had an education loan for about $70,000. They were able to pay those things. What their liability was, they had to, through their other modes, like their savings, some other sponsors, etc. They had to pay $26,000. Again, when they graduate, and even if they have a significant number, which is higher than the 40,000 that we just talked about, that they need to pay off. I would say that 3.5 period will somewhere go to about 5.5 years, which still is much lesser than what your banks really give you in terms of payment. Most of the banks will give you 7 to 20 years to pay off your loans. But irrespective of how bad the scenario is in terms of how much money I've accumulated as debt, students will still end up paying in about 5 to 6 years. That is an amazing stat. And that again confirms the fact that our students are landing with very high paying jobs that are letting them pay off their loans very quickly. The other thing to remember is the quality of the institution and the quality of the training that you get through the degree programs is a very important factor when it comes to what kind of salaries they're making post-graduation. Some of the institutions might have a very low tuition rate, but if the quality of the education is not good enough, that really doesn't translate into comparable salaries what UT Dallas students see. So please, when you're making a decision for the institution that you want to go to, don't just look at from the perspective of what's the tuition. Let's look at the tuition and decide which is the best college for me. The quality of education and the post-graduation outcomes are very important for you to decide where you need to go. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to be in a situation where, yes, you saved on the tuition, but then the returns are not comparable at all. So, I personally feel any decision that is made keeping financial figures in mind as a primary reason are not the best decisions sometimes. Why? Because your financial situation is a temporary situation. Maybe, and again, this is a huge investment, and I'm not saying that it's easy for people to just do it, because for whatever reason, you might have to garner your funds from different resources. It is possible, but this temporary challenge that you might feel a little pinch will stay only for a few years. And then after that, when you have taken care of your financial situation, you will see that how, the benefits of your degree will start showing up in your promotions, in the kind of salaries you're making, in the overall quality of your professional career. So please make sure that you are not just looking at the tuition and then making a decision. And that's where at UT Dallas, at the Jindal School, our program quality is directly proportional to the kind of money our students are making there. Norma, would you like to move on to the next and more favorable illustration of an out-of-state student who did not receive a scholarship in the first year, which is not a problem. Some of our best students come in with no scholarships, but then they received a scholarship in the second year. Why? Because they were very hardworking students, they were engaged, and they were able to get that scholarship. At this point of time, with the scholarship benefits that they received, you can see that their tuition now has got lowered. They might have got an on-campus job for 2 semesters that paid them about $8,500 there. And then when they were ready to intern, as an international student especially, you'll have to complete 2 long semesters before you become eligible for an internship. And they were able to get that internship. And I'm just estimating this on about $23, $24, $25 an hour. They were making about $35,000. At the end of it, with their income from the on-campus jobs, their scholarships, their internship, and what they had to pay for tuition, Their actual overhead was only $38,000. And I've not used my loan yet. Now look at the loan. It's $70,000. So what you needed at the end of the day was only 38, and you had the capacity of $70,000 to pay, which tells you that there was a significant portion of the loan that you did not avail, which is good. At the end of the day, the institution that gives you a loan will only charge you interest on the loan that they have dispersed. They might give you a letter at the very beginning saying that they have sanctioned X thousand dollars, and whatever you use, the interest will apply on the amount that is dispersed. So again, in this particular illustration, the student is saving from their education loan as well. And one of the things that I love about our students is once they start earning some money, again, you don't have to do this right away while you're a student, but when they see that they've got some extra funds, they actually start paying back their interest or the principal of the education loan right while they're a student. So again, something that we see very often here. Let's move on to the next illustration here, which is of a student who, and this is an even more favorable situation because here the student is not an on-campus worker, an hourly worker for 2 semesters. Rather, they have 1 semester of TA-ship and they have 1 semester of their on-campus job. So in a way, when they came in, they did not have any scholarship, but semester 2, they had a TA-ship that afforded them that in-state tuition. And then in the second year, they got a scholarship. So 75% of the time that they were here at UT Dallas, they had the in-state tuition, despite being an out-of-state student, which is a great scenario. Now, being a TA also gives you about $1,000 a month. It's about a 5-month engagement. So that's the $5,000 plus your tuition benefit that comes with the TA-ship is about $9,000 for that semester. And then, while you were here in the very first semester, you were an on-campus student worker. That's about $4,500. And then when the time for an internship came, this is one of the best possible scenarios that we can think of for somebody who did not enter with a scholarship. You have to remember, if you don't get a scholarship, that's not the end of the story. So many of our students, great students and now great alums, have gone through this route. And you can see that they also had an education loan, and I'm using $70,000 as an average, because that's what we see. Their actual overhead was only $28,000. So a big portion of their student loan was still unused, which is a great situation to be in. Let's look at another illustration here for another student. Now, this is a case where this student came in with a scholarship, and it's an out-of-state student, came in with a scholarship, and when these second-year scholarships were open, they applied again and they got it. That is also a possibility. Please do remember, if you get a scholarship in your first time when you're coming in as a new student, it doesn't automatically mean that it will give you a scholarship in the second year as well. You have to apply separately, but some of our students, a significant portion, do get that too. And then when you have that scholarship, and let's say you engage in an on-campus job that pays you about $8,500 across 2 semesters, you get your internship, $35,000. And by the way, $35,000 is an average number. We have students who make significantly more than this $35,000 as an intern. I had a student yesterday in my office who earns more than $100 an hour. More than $100 an hour. That is an annual salary of $200,000 as an intern. And his manager tells me just one thing, that this guy came in and has started a new department. An intern starting a department. It's an amazing thing to hear, but that is something which is very common for our students. And that is why when they come in, and even though it feels like, oh my God, this is so expensive, it is not. And we want to show you these different illustrations to help you understand how you can really save on, except for the first scenario where the student had no support. You can see how every particular in every scenario, people are saving a significant amount of money. This particular student also came in with a loan, and you can see about less than $25,000 is what their actual overhead was. Now, at $1,000 a month, if you're just paying off $1,000 a month, in about 2 years, you just pay off your entire uh, loan that you had taken. And in a lot of cases, it is so amazing to know that when our students graduate, despite starting with an education loan, they have zero debt when they graduate. And that is not just a handful of them, a good number of students fall in that bucket. Let's look at another scenario here, another illustration. Now, this is for an in-state student, somebody who is a Texas resident. Of course, from a tuition perspective, you have a big benefit being a Texas resident. You are paying the lower side of the fee. And again, the $61,000 that you see is not just tuition, it's tuition plus your living expenses. As I said, it was about $26,000 at $1,200 a month for 4 semesters. They decided on pursuing an on-campus job for a semester. They interned for 2 semesters. When they graduated, 21,500 was what was an overhead. Now, whether you paid through your loan or you are paying through some other sources, doesn't matter. In all these situations that we have seen so far, except for the first one, the student has had more money at hand than what they had to spend. So again, a good situation here. I also want to bring in, so all of this was with 9 credits in mind. I have a 6th illustration as well that we added this time, just to show that in case there is a student who wants to take more credits in the semester, want to just max out on the 18. Now, again, this is not a recommended situation. We don't want you to overburden yourself with too many credits. There's like 6 courses. Every day you will be in class, but it can be done. There are students who like going this route, and you're free to do that. If you go this route, definitely your tuition significantly reduces. It is about, with the insurance and all, it's about $22,000 a semester. You have to do that for 2 semesters. Your living expenses also are less because now we are just talking about 12 months. So at $1,200, you're looking at about $14,400, $15,000 of living expenses. You can pursue an on-campus job in this scenario. The internship would be, so let's say you start in fall semester and fall and spring, and then you don't graduate at the end of spring, but you extend it to summer, and all you do there is your internship for those 3 months, and then you graduate. In that case, you also have the ability to, just do your internship as well, which of course will get you some money. In this case, because it's for 1 semester, 3 months, we're estimating about $17,000. This student as well, at the end of the day, has a significantly lower overhead. It's not very spread out. They're able to graduate quickly and then get back. If getting back into the workforce is your priority, this is a way to do that. But it's not a recommended way because it's too much of work here. Let's move on to the next slide. A few things to keep in mind, and I may have talked about these in a few minutes ago as well. Please, your financial planning has to be solid. If you have any challenges in doing that, you can reach out to us. We will be happy to sit down with you, but never ever take the best case scenario in mind and think that, I'm going to just go with that scenario and hopefully it'll happen. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. And there is no shame in taking an education loan. Don't feel shy about it. There are thousands and thousands of people every semester in the Jindal School at UT Dallas, all over the world, millions of people, they take education loans because that's an instrument available for students to get that financial strength to be able to pay their tuition and expenses while they're pursuing a degree. There is no shame. Do not feel shy about it. There's nobody who's judging you here because you took an education loan. Well, there are billionaires who take loans to start their companies. So you are also starting something amazing in your life. So don't feel shy about it. Also, please do not feel obligated that you have to start paying back your loans in the very first semester. A lot of times our students, and who are very respectful and gracious about the sacrifices their families are making in terms of sending them here, they feel that they have this obligation that they have to start paying back and not ask them for money or support them from the very first semester. Let me make it clear for you. Your families are supporting you. They're your cheerleaders. And when they're supporting you, they don't expect you to be paying them back in the very first semester or while you're a student. That's a decision that you and your family made, that there will be a few years where there'll be some investment in your education. So please don't feel obligated, because that will put unnecessary pressure on you. Never do that. But some of the things to do is do your research. When you're going for a lender, look at the options to pay back. Look at, how they are charging interest. Look at when does the payback start. Some of them say that, okay, right after your graduation, you have to start paying back. Some of them say, okay, 6 months after your graduation, you have to start paying back. What is the interest rate? Is it a fixed interest rate? Is it a variable interest rate? All of these things are questions you need to ask yourself. Know about if there are any collateral-free options. There are lots of banking and non-banking financial institutions that are giving you the kind of loans we were talking about without any collateral. If possible, try to stay away from any collateral-related options. Stay collateral-free, because that keeps your property and whatever you're putting as collateral independent of your loan. And at the same time, while all of this is happening, please do be aware of your financial situation, your family's financial situation, their priorities as well, because you don't want to make a decision where it is costing you some money, but it is not aligned with your financial strength at home, because you don't want to put your family in financial jeopardy when you're making this significant investment in your education. So evaluate those options as well. And again, if at any point you feel that there is no enough support for you to figure out if this is the right decision, always reach out to us. You won't believe the number of students that we talk to on a daily, weekly basis, and we're able to get a good sense of what the different family backgrounds, financial backgrounds look like, and we're able to give students some good advice on how they can navigate their situation. So do reach out to us. Moving on to the next slide. This is the mantra, the 3 words. It is possible. If you're watching this right now or you're watching the recording, take a moment, pause this, and say the 3 words. It is possible. There are numerous people that we cannot even count who go by this mantra. They came with the same fears as you are. I, as a JSOM alum, came with the same fears, but this is the place to make it possible. And that's the reason why we are doing this webinar, to make sure that you are aware of the different options. You are aware of what is the grand equation of my finances here. But at the end of the day, it is possible. The Jindal School of Management has 63,000 alums, and we would not have 63,000 alums if this was not possible. So please know that this is not just us trying to sell you something. This is dreams of tens of thousands of students who say just one thing. It wasn't possible, but it became possible when they came to the Jindal School. And now they have a spectacular life. Their professional careers are skyrocketing. Their personal lives are great, and it is possible. Moving on. As we said, we talked about some options. These are some of the non-banking financial institutions that do give our students loans. Again, this is not an official endorsement of any of these companies, but we wanted to present you some of the names where our students go to avail loans. Please go to these websites directly, apply directly, and being a UT Dallas student, I'm sure that for them, from their perspective, they would be more willing to give you a loan just because you're coming to UT Dallas. Of course, this also depends on your current financial situation. This is something you can chat with them about in case there are issues. But these are some of the companies that really give a lot of loans to our students. So please do reach out to them directly on their website. Moving on. And finally, if you have any questions, you can always email us those questions at jindal@utdallas.edu. We also have a live chat at our question desk. The link is right there, but we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have, whether it is in the remainder of the time today or through emails that you might send to us. But at this point of time, I would like to bring back Dr. Powell, who for the last several minutes I'm seeing that she's beaming with enthusiasm, because I know she knows, I know, Norma knows, and so many of us know that all of you, once you're here and you're going through your degree programs, you are looking towards a very, very, very bright future. And I think that's it. That's what is reflecting right now on Dr. Powell and Norma's face that I see in this webinar. But Dr. Powell, would you like to take it forward from here?
Thank you so much, Gaurav, for that really informative analysis. And I strongly encourage all of you that could be watching this webinar live. We're going to be sending a copy of this recording. And this is the kind of recording that you need to sit down, watch, put it on pause, rewind, listen to it again. I have been in this industry almost 40 years. And the very best days, which are almost every day, are the day when a student comes to my office and says, Dr. Powell, I didn't think that I could make it happen. But the financial planning webinar that you did a couple of years ago with Gaurav Shekhar, where you made me believe it was possible, it did happen. And one of those scenarios was me. And, I ended up getting 2 internships, and I was able to start paying my loan back immediately after graduation. And I transformed my future and really my family's future. Those are the moments of really great celebration. So Gaurav, you are exactly right. When we see our students rush down the hall and just to tell us that they landed that great internship or that campus job, or they're going to be a recipient of a continuing student scholarship, we are very excited about that. Now, we do realize that each of you have a unique situation that you're bringing to the table. And so we want you to reach out and ask those questions so we can help walk you through those items. But, I think in order for opportunity to land in your lap, you got to take a little bit of risk. I don't know anybody that didn't grow a business that didn't have to take risk. And remember, your future is your business. So manage it, go after it, and take advantage of it. Now, I know we've answered a lot of questions in the chat. We hope we've answered all of the ones that are important to you. Please let us know by sending an email to jindal@utdallas.edu. If you have any kind of questions, we are glad to entertain those questions. Makes it a little bit easier to answer those not in a public forum. So thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Gaurav, for your very thorough analysis. Everything that you saw has happened to hundreds of students here at the Jindal School, and we're excited about that. Norma, thank you for running the magic behind the show. We hope you'll rewatch this. We hope you'll be in touch with us, and we hope that we have answered the many questions that you might have about coming to the Jindal School of Management here at the University of Texas at Dallas. You guys have a great rest of the week. Please be in touch. We look forward to hearing from you soon.